Business. Ken, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you today?
I am doing wonderful. I know this is not a first-time home buyer topic, but it is relevant because a lot of our first-timers are have folks that are 62 and older, and this is going to be very relevant for their parents or maybe some parents' friends, aunts, uncles, etc. So reverse mortgage, it's a very niche product. Very few people are going to where this is going to make sense, but we want to get the information out to everybody. It's important that we're here to help answer questions, even if we don't do a ton of them. So let's get into a reverse mortgage. Let's get like the nuts and bolts out of the way before we get into, does it make sense to do it, not sense to do it. So I'll let you go. I know it's for 62 years of age and older.
That's the most important thing. Great job. We're off to a good start. It is, and there's a couple of different ways that can be done. It can be a lump sum disbursement. It can be set up such that it's like a home equity line of credit where you can make future draws on that loan. So you have two options to do that. The industry right now is heavily weighted on the line of credit option. So most of the people that are taking advantage of this now are either refinancing their primary mortgage into this so that they can remove the cash flow obligation, but also giving them access to borrow more money against that over time in the event that it's needed. So the big driver here is there is mild income that's needed to illustrate in order to qualify, but everything's based on the amount of equity that you have in the home that you could access for whatever purpose you wish. And there's no house payment required moving forward. So all you have, if you're the homeowner, you're just responsible for the taxes, the insurance, and HOA dues, if possible. So the big driver there, again, is it removes the cash flow requirement for the homeowner.
So I'm thinking back to 06, 07, 08, where we were starting to lose equity or go underwater. The homeowner didn't have any equity. We didn't do a ton of these back then. Well, now this is a completely different animal where a lot of people have a ton of equity and they're looking for ways to improve their overall financial health or household budget health.
Absolutely.
Okay. So typically, you get to take these funds tax-free.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take a lump sum of money, or you can take a line of credit and pull from it as you need.
Absolutely. Yep.
You're not making any payments on these loans.
Correct.
Period.
End of story.
So you could consolidate debt, for example.
Yep. You could consolidate debt,
which would increase your cash flow.
Totally. One of the things right now that's going on right now, again, there's two ways to look at it, right? I need that equity for cash flow to live. Maybe people that have limited retirement funds coming in. But what's really common or popular right now is that given that the stock market is not in the most favorable light, meaning your asset accounts are down 20 or 25% over the last year, a lot of financial advisors say, hey, let's consider utilizing this tool. So instead of for the next 12 months taking money out of an account that's down in value, let's utilize some of the equity as your income cash flow and let your assets stay there for a while, your IRAs, and see if those go back up in value over a period of time. And then we can consider shifting the income stream back to that. I totally know what I was thinking in my head, but I'm not sure it came out in English.
It did. No, I'm thinking, gosh, our parents were, you got to pay off the mortgage. You got to pay off the mortgage. You don't want a house payment. You never want a house payment. this accomplishes that. There's no house payment.
Yep.
But it allows you to get a little more creative. A lot of folks don't have a huge 401k that they have been able to stack up over the years, or their Social Security amount is limited. So this allows them to actually maybe go on a vacation, right? You know, one of those
Yeah.
bucket list vacations. What else are they using the funds for in these examples? So we have people with not a lot of retirement account funds.
Yeah. So supplemental income. Like you said, we've got some debt consolidation. The removing of the house payment component is absolutely huge. But also, as we get older, so do our homes. So there may be a need for maintenance, upkeep. Gosh, as we get older, you may even need to do something to make it more user friendly for the individuals, or realign the floor plan a little bit to make it more accommodating to being in your 60s compared to being in your 40s.
I'm thinking of adult living arrangements as well.
Gosh darn it, that's what I was trying to say. Yep.
Yeah, as we get older, we have to start considering, sometimes that happens, right? So, okay. I'm looking at my notes over here. So why would I do this and not do a cash out refinance like a regular old school loan, which typically you would do? So pros and cons. Give me a couple pros, couple cons that you're thinking.
To me, the pros of this program, or the part where it benefits, is if cash flow for the household is tight, and removing that monthly payment obligation, if that's needed, this is a fantastic option. The negatives are these loans are expensive to obtain. So they're 3 to 4 times more expensive in the form of closing costs than a traditional mortgage. So if your household allows for cash flow for a traditional mortgage, that's less expensive. However, if you're in a transition period where you only have Social Security and you don't want to start drawing out of an IRA to show income to qualify, the reverse mortgage removes a lot of the obstacles to qualify for a home loan.
Some of these folks inherited homes, or they were passed down.
Fair.
Like mom or dad gave them their home, and they're living in a home that's paid off, and they're still on limited income. I'm thinking of that. Again, this is a small percentage of people.
Yep.
But as we speak to them and learn their situation and all those things that you can't see or you forget about, that's where we're filling in the pieces to figure out, does it make sense to go this way? Does it make sense to go that way?
Yeah, there's a little more to it than just what's your rate, right? Somebody's full picture to, where this, a reverse mortgage could be a substantial quality of life improvement for somebody if that obligation of the house payment is providing some tax on their quality of life.
All right, owner occupied only, primary residence.
Yep.
There is mortgage insurance on the loan. Again, that's almost irrelevant with the type of situations who are going to actually be using this product. Couple different ways that you can set it up. We don't need to go into any great length there, but
so these loans are insured by FHA, and so that's the Federal Housing Administration. So that builds in a couple of maybe safeguards for folks, meaning that, hey, if I get this loan when I'm 62 and I live to be 140, who's going to foot the bill for all that additional money that I've drawn out of that property or not paid over time? So the cool part is it's a non-recourse loan. So however long the person lives, there's no additional surcharge due in the event when it passes on to the estate, or if they wanted to refinance that loan at some point down the road. There's some interest rate caps built in. So there are some safety measures that remove a lot of the risk from the homeowner. years ago, there was, I got it was 2015-ish. There was some bad publicity about, these going into foreclosure. And the only way that a reverse mortgage can be foreclosed on is in the event that the homeowner decides to stop paying taxes or not pay the property taxes. So the
Okay.
lender can't foreclose on the loan because it's a non-recourse. However, if they don't maintain the other obligations, insurance, taxes, and HOA dues, there could be some risk there, but very, very minimal.
So I think you had mentioned to me that a lot of folks who have a small mortgage balance left will pay off that mortgage with this loan. So
Mhm.
that frees up, let's use an example, $1,000 a month in cash flow that's going to pay that small mortgage. That goes away. And then they're adding on top of that amount a line of credit that's available to them to do future home improvements or any of these other things we've discussed.
Yes.
And none of those payments are ever due. So it's a big time quality of life for the household budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
the example we kicked around was if we assume somebody's home is worth 400,000 and they owe 100, well, in theory, they refinance that 100,000, like you said, remove the payment, and they have access to about 90 or $92,000 on a line of credit that they can access those funds as they wish. And that line of credit amount goes up gradually each year with the cost of living. So they may get an extra $3,000 or $4,000 availability each year as time goes on.
So I'm thinking of grandma, for example, my wife's grandma,
Okay.
who's owned her home free and clear for a long, long time. And she has all kinds of things that pop up. Had to redo the basement, had to tackle the roof. And using cash for these improvements and a home that's not really going to go up significantly or down significantly in value, 80 something years old. Very interesting example there of to help the day-to-day living
Hmm.
situation and not have to have that anxiety of, am
Oh,
I
yeah. If
liquid
you
enough to be able to make this go?
totally, yep. They're managing how much money they have in savings for whatever their
Yes.
vacations, the medical expenses or prescriptions that they need
Christmas
to,
gifts.
groceries. Yes. Um, and if that gets tight, this is certainly a fantastic option. And again, the payment obligation doesn't exist.
You
No
can
different
make
than what they had
payments to
before.
it.
You can. Yep.
You can, if you choose on
Mhm.
that line to keep a certain amount free.
Yes.
So very, very interesting and good to know for folks. If you guys have questions, parents in this situation, grandparents, etc., reach out to us. Please like, subscribe. Ken, that's awesome.
Good
Uh,
stuff, man.
we will catch up soon. Have a great day.
Peace.
See ya.